welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello.
Hello. We're out of lockdown.
Yay.
So we're not going to do our thing we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. We're just going to do some ramped up click pitch, I think. Mm-hmm. And we'll set ourselves free to explore larger spaces.
But also, we're not gonna stop ourselves from doing smaller spaces if that's what the game calls for.
Oh, of course. We just we've lifted that restraint. But if you missed it, the last two episodes we've tried to keep ourselves into small spaces, and we came up with some fun stuff. So
you said we've lifted that restraint, and straight away in my head, my brain went. And speaking of restraints, extremerestraints.com.
This week we're sponsored by extremerestraints.com for all your butt plug needs,
for all your restraining needs.
Yeah,
our game is ramped up click pitch, where we're each going to have. Using a random word generator, we're going to get an adjective, we're going to get a noun, we're going to throw them at each other, we're going to take those couple of words, we're going to come up with a beautiful game baby. And then we're going to nurture that game baby and see how it grows.
We're going to feed it.
And then
we're going to burp it. We're going to change its butt.
And then we set it free.
Just talk about our baby dying.
I said it's going to grow and nurture, and then, like a Tamagotchi, we're gonna like it'll fizzle out.
we're gonna forget about it, leave it in the corner, and eventually its battery will die. All right, sounds good. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1, click.
Optimum attendance.
Balanced myth.
Okay. Gladiatorial battles.
Okay.
And it's all about like trying to get the optimum attendance to these battles.
Right. So you're
with
kind of
mythical
running,
creatures.
Yeah, you're like running this tournament or this coliseum where they have gladiators fight like minotaurs and centaurs and other mythical creatures. Yowies.
Bunyips.
Is it in Australia? Is it an Australian gladiatorial?
It's set in like outback Australia. It's in like I know a dome shape, maybe
thunderous.
No,
I think we move away. I think we purposefully try to do something a bit different.
No, the reason why I'm saying that is because it's before Mad Max, but it's like this is before the whole world goes into shutdown. But basically, this is where eventually Thunderdome will exist.
Oh, okay. So it's right. It's before the whole apocalypse, essentially, and it's just
it happens to be an amphitheater in the middle of nowhere.
It's like it's a sports stadium essentially. Okay, I like the idea of this being just in a sort of modern world where there happen to be mythical creatures to fight against. Is this to the death, or are the mythical creatures just like sports people as well? They're athletes.
I kind of like that. At first, it's just guys dressed up as mythical creatures. But then after a while, you start realizing that some of those masks don't come off.
So is this actual mythical creatures infiltrating your cosplay battles, your LARPing?
Pretty much, and that's how you get more attendance and all that sort of stuff coming through.
Okay. I think this is a world where they exist, but essentially you can't afford them initially. It's expensive, to get a fucking griffin,
especially when
McElroy.
If it gets killed, that's your one and only shot with a griffin.
Yeah. You got to be.
There's only one Griffin McElroy.
Yeah, and it just doesn't have quite the same cachet mythically to get a Travis or a Justin,
And just to be 100% sure, just in case people don't realize this, we're talking about the griffins. Like, they're actually, part eagle, part lion, but their name is Griffin McElroy, Justin McElroy, and Travis McElroy. It's just Griffin.
They're all Griffins.
Griffin the Griffin is just like it's the ultimate. It's
ironic.
Griffin.
It wasn't his birth name, but he just, he's got a weird sense of humor.
They liked My Brother and Me, so they named themselves after that.
They all name just these Griffins who are just podcast fiends. So what's the gameplay? What's the gameplay here? Like, is it sort of hiring and firing and managing the things, and then like watching the battles take place, or are you fighting the battles in some like?
I think it is one of these games where you can sort of choose the part that you like. Like, there's the career mode where you're playing one of the Griffins going forward. Then there's like the manager mode in which you can look after the attendants, and it's really, you can get the same sort of story happening in the background where things are sort of building up, but it's how you want to actually do it. You want to go more down the managerial and the more real-time strategy sort of thing of, I've got to put in place, advertising and all this sort of stuff, or you play, in the Mortal Kombat-esque, beat 'em up.
So it's two games in one. I guess it depends where we want to focus, because like, did you ever play Punch Club?
No.
It was essentially, it was kind of a boxing game, but it was more of a like RPG light kind of thing where you were playing this boxer, but you'd like go home every night and you could do stuff there, and then you'd like go to different shops and you had to keep your levels up and that sort of thing, but then you'd go to the boxing ring and you'd like do these, relatively simple things and train in different things and get your stats up in different ways, and then have fights and stuff. And so it was sort of that career mode in a sense, but like the whole game, there was stories and stuff that went along with it. So I kind of like that, having a little bit of that sense of it, and you sort of mentioned that in the career mode. But the fights in that were very simplistic. I guess if we wanted to focus a bit more also on the actual combat as the gameplay of that, that could be cool too.
I did say Mortal Kombat, but I'm talking more from the standpoint of maybe a third-person For Honor sort of fighting system.
Yeah, that's more where I was going. And I like the idea of like multiple gladiators against a single beast as well. Although occasionally, you get the big brute gladiators who just try to take it on.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of thinking is, because I do like the idea of you running the coliseum, so we can have a mixture of both, but I like that maybe you've got a few creatures in your stable, essentially, at a time that you can bring out. You can set the order of them. Your more powerful ones, you maybe bring those out last because, like, you really want to end on a big note, or maybe you bring them out first to really get the crowd going or whatever. And I think they can be people in costumes to start with. Like, you're essentially building this up.
3 gladiators against a guy in a cosplay costume kind of seems unfair to the gladiators. That guy in the cosplay costume.
Well, maybe that's part of it. Maybe
he's just really good at martial arts.
He's like dressed as a centaur and swinging just this fake back legs around to kick people and stuff.
And then you find out that there's actually like another guy inside the legs.
Yeah, it's two people.
That's why it looks so realistic.
That's why when one of the gladiators cut the centaur in half, they kept fighting.
The back end just sort of stood up.
It eventually kind of merged together. But we could have it that you play out those fights. Like, part of it is you want to put on a good show, so you generally want to win. Although
you want it to go for us. Like, I think what you can have is during the fights is like, these are the sort of checklist of things that you want to try and hit. So the match should go for 2 minutes minimum.
Yep.
No longer than 5, otherwise the people get bored. And they want to see, this is how it should
X
die.
amount of blood.
Yeah. you the gladiator should be hit, and look like you're about to lose. That'll give you a little bit more, and you can sort of play around with. One of the things that the wrestling games haven't really done is that you can sort of sculpt your storyline, sort of thing. You being a manager, you can sort of say, okay, the storyline for you being a gladiator is that you're going to go, turn heel and, be kind of like the really bad guy who, doesn't really follow along with rules. And, you can actually sculpt your story a little bit.
Then that alters the audience's, like the requirements essentially for the audience. Like if you're playing a heel, essentially, then more of the audience wants you to lose, but winning can also bring up a sort of a different stat. It's still excitement. It's still in there, but it's, you get them jeering at you and whatever.
You get them jeering at you for, turning on one of your fellow gladiators as he's going for the kill, and you block his weapon and steal the kill, sort of thing. And
I can't help but think this is a good place to use our besties system in a way. But instead of go on.
For our audience that hasn't listened to every single episode that we've ever done, what is the besties system?
So the besties system is our non-infringing take on Warner Brothers' Nemesis system that they used in the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games. We focus more on the friendships.
Yes.
But there are anti-besties. Is that what we called them?
I think so. It's been a while. It's been a few
besties as well. But instead of here, like generally when we've used this, it's obviously your character is creating besties and non-besties as they go. I think in this place though, it's simulating those relationships just between the different gladiators that you have and the creatures and that sort of thing, so that you do have those relationships of, like you go against someone who was previously your bestie and beat them, then that's going to change that dynamic, and the audience notices and keeps track.
I'm just wondering if like during the game you can have like special weapons that you can bring out every now and again. Occasionally there's like vintage weapons that you can bring out that is, weapons that were seen in olden times.
Yeah, like magical, like named weapons.
Yeah. It's just, I love the idea of, it's like you're coming in with Michael's mace and it's got like plus 20 to healing.
Yeah. It's the
healing
Macelroy. I like that sort of magical weapons or mythical weapons in some way, or just like, historical weapons that have some history. And again, playing into the bestie system, like they're from previous battles that then add to them, or like the unspoken of system does do, like certain besties will get a name, weapons will get a name based on the fact that you like 3 times in a row destroyed a fucking Cyclops with this weapon, then it's now, the eye poker or whatever.
What this enables us to then do is capitalize on, in your game, your manager can now create new merchandise.
Yes, that's a good thing. That's a good part of it.
So it now becomes that the bestie system has actually just brought forward like new merchandise that you're bringing out. So at the end of
fucking action figures, man,
plushies.
I love the idea that your custom, like your gladiator, be they man or beast, made their way up, become one of the more popular, fighters in this ring, and then you get to make fucking action figures and plushies out of them that we generate, essentially with the whatever clothing you've put them in, and then you can choose like This one comes with the mythical eye poker that, you know, like it's got whatever it is, the one of the named weapons. You can choose to like release the limited version that comes with that. And then yes, that's like increasing your revenue. And the cool thing is, for Twitch streamers and that sort of stuff, like you could actually be, you know, selling off like pins or logos or of like your champions basically to your audience, so you get that sort of I love the idea of
being able to pose for wallpapers, and in your merch store people can come and you know, purchase a wallpaper for 50 cents or whatever, but it's still and then we take a small cut, they take a cut. Like,
I actually love that as a Twitch thing. Actually, I hadn't thought of it from a streaming point of view, but even just as the crowd and having some integration there where they can be maybe like voting on, you know, which side they're going for or whatever. Or you have the big moment, like the big Caesar thing of like thumbs up or thumbs down to like execute them at the end. And that might mean you lose a really popular, creature, right? A really popular gladiator or champion, but you've had that but then it becomes a huge moment for the people watching and for the audience.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I'd love for the Twitch streamers can like affect the actual in-game audience as well. Have them like holding up posters or you know, saying different things, or again, like if it's just on the mood, you then hear that in the game based on you know, who they most want to win.
Thinking about it now, I'm like, why haven't more games done this sort of Twitch integration of being able to, you know, have your supporters like get behind one of your heroes, and you get to play in as that hero and sort of see it build up, and then they can, you know, purchase things on that particular character, like that are generated from within game.
Yeah, actually make them actually merchandisable.
Yeah.
We'll do what was it what Rock Band did, where you could get a 3D printed actual action figure of one of your champions, or people can buy them.
I mean, it would be pretty easy to get the cat out of it because we've built the character.
Oh yeah, you've got the 3D.
I'm just loving the idea that you can stick with the manager stuff, and you know you can handle the souvenir stuff if that's really where you want to go down to, or you can just let the computer just deal with that
stuff,
and you can go ahead and do this, and depending on how you do your settings at the start, like whether your manager's going to go heavily in on the souvenirs and merchandise, or whether he's going to go into...
Yeah, well, that can affect things too, right? Like, you could be seen as a sellout if you try to sell too much merch, especially if it's too early. Yeah. That's really cool. Particularly with that Twitch integration stuff. I love that.
Yep.
I feel like you could build a real basic, like, almost a web, like, not a web-based version, but like I don't know, 2D version of that could have some of those features and still do really well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do another. Comparable bog.
Aerial incurring.
I immediately went to just something shitting on something else from a height. Like, I don't know that I actually want to make a game about shitting on things, but
it's better than, you know, what it could have been, which is comparing like
poops
in a game.
Yeah. We can take bog to be something else. It could be like a swamp kind of thing. Like
boggy swamp. I like that.
The bog of eternal stench.
Ooh, yes. Labyrinth game. Why aerial incurring, but I'm like, why hasn't there been a Labyrinth game? Like, I know that LucasArts did a adventure game set within, I think it was LucasArts who did it. Labyrinth.
Set within Labyrinth?
Yeah, there was one, like...
Really? I know
very early on.
There's a board game that's kind of cool. Labyrinth, the computer game. Yeah, you're right. 1986 graphic adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Developed by Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
Games.
I thought so.
Very Maniac Mansion-y.
Oh, but it was before
Kinda
Maniac Mansion.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's just when you look at that resolution of big-headed graphics sort of thing. But interesting. Well, I think we can do something a bit more interesting than that.
Yeah, but I like the idea of... I don't care too much about aerial incurring. I'm now set on Labyrinth, the adventure game. Why hasn't it been done, and why can't you do a sequel?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking rather than do the story from the movie, that it's like someone else who's found their way into the labyrinth.
Yes.
And is searching for something to reach the Goblin King.
But the Goblin King is missing.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, because we can't get David Bowie, so...
Exactly, and there is no no Goblin King without David Bowie, so...
There's no replacement. Who would the Goblin Queen be? Maybe he did eventually find someone, get married, but now he's gone missing, but there's still, like, the head of the goblins is there, and it's his wife.
Sarah.
You think it's Sarah?
It's Sarah. It's...
Okay.
It's 25 years later, and Sarah has realised that she did actually love Jareth.
Once it became less inappropriate for a teenage girl to be with a Goblin King, she did go back and visit and found that actually he was, like, a pretty nice guy.
When he wasn't trying to steal her brother and turn him into a goblin...
Yeah, well, by this point, her brother was like an annoying 14-year-old, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with that little shit. All he does is play Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I love this idea. How does the game actually...
Do you play the brother? What's the brother's name?
Toby, wasn't it?
Toby, that's right. For some reason I was thinking Elliot. I'm like, what? No, that's the kid in E.T.
Elliot.
Toby. Maybe it's more than one person going in this time.
Ooh, okay.
Maybe when you, like, mix Labyrinth with the Goonies. It's like a bunch of 12-year-old kids.
And do they all go different ways? Like, when you go into the labyrinth...
Oh, so we do the Maniac Mansion / Day of the Tentacle style thing. You're switching between characters. Okay,
so one of the things that I absolutely loved about the movie Labyrinth is that everything is sort of mind-bendy.
Yeah.
So I think you need the way that the shaders work and all that sort of stuff. You can never really see that there's actually... an entrance into a separate...
Oh, yeah, I'd love to play around with, like...
where the walls actually exist or not.
Yeah, well, because there was that great scene where, it looks like there's no wall there, but then you change perspective and you can see it. But if you can really do that well within a game where you have to be looking from it, or you have to know about it first or something, because essentially the textures are rendered as if they're a single.
Don't go that way. You never want to go that way. Oh, thanks. Oh, God. If she went that way, she would have gone straight to the castle. Little shitty worm.
Oh, God, I need to watch this movie again.
It's so fucking great.
So, okay. So, do we go classic point and click then? If we're sort of inspired by some of this stuff?
I do like...
Or a bit more modern?
I kind of like a modern point and click. Like...
3D
rendered. But I think maybe fixed camera points. But
or
then
at least
again,
like panning camera or something, maybe.
There's got to be a way of being able to do it from a first-person view as well, so that otherwise they would have seen that, oh, look, there is actually a wall here that you can go into. It's just...
Yeah, that would definitely make it more difficult doing perspective tricks if they've got full camera control, essentially. No, I mean, I like doing it with a fixed camera, or at least like we control the camera essentially. The developers control the camera, because it would be really cool to have some of those tricks, but then like use lighting stuff to reveal it and that sort of thing. Like that's the solution to the puzzle. Like you literally cannot see that there is a wall there because the camera is on a fixed path. And the way we've done the textures or whatever makes it that you can't tell that it's there. But then, yeah, you like light some torches or something or whatever, and you see, now the shadows falling through that hole into the back. You know, you can sort of tell. Then there's more visual information to do stuff with.
Okay, so there's got to be some sort of breakdown that has sort of happened as to why the story is going to be somewhat different to the first Labyrinth.
Yeah, so I think Sarah has brought in these kids, just like Jareth brought Sarah in in the first one. Has she taken something from them? Maybe their dog or something can like smell goblins.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because Toby is going to be one of our main characters.
Yeah,
I think it's friends.
Toby and his friends.
Yeah, maybe he's going out looking for what happened to his sister.
Right, and stumbles into
the world of Labyrinth
by following the clues. Stumbles into the Labyrinth essentially.
Yeah.
And she originally... She just finds herself at the entrance to the Labyrinth, doesn't she? After she, like, calls for the...
Goblin King, Goblin King.
Yeah, like, take him or whatever, like, does her little thing.
Yeah.
And then she's suddenly just there, yeah.
Well, Jareth comes in and says, you got 13 hours to reach the centre of the castle.
Yeah, but by that time she's, like, on that... They're in that, like... They're out there. She basically just like transports her there from her room, or from the brother's room, or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well, or maybe it's then that Toby and his friends find some incantation, like find some the special words to say.
They go into Sarah's room, and behind her mirror, like there's an incantation that they can basically. That you can click on, and then out of her window, out onto the veranda, like the scene changes, and basically
it changes.
It opens up, and it's just the Labyrinth is right in front.
Yeah,
after you say that,
the castle in the background, and yeah,
there's something about that, and just how many friends do you reckon?
We can go the classic two, like the tree, as in the two additional friends do the trio.
Yep,
I'm tempted to make them both girls just to avoid the ridiculous, like the overused trope of the two boys and the girl in the trio.
Yeah. I was thinking along those same lines, but I was thinking 4 and having 2 of each, but no, I think the trio does work a little bit better.
I think just it'd get overcomplicated with more. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you've got kind of the more, like, rough and tumble, confident...
Tomboy, yep.
Sort of tomboyish... I mean, yeah, she doesn't have to be, like, necessarily masculine about it, but, yes, like, less traditionally feminine, I suppose. And then maybe, like, an arty type or something?
Arty or super brainy... like super smart, sciencey type.
Yeah. Maybe Toby's the arty one.
Yeah,
maybe he got kind of.
I like him being sort of on the arty drama side because it goes very similar to what Sarah was, in which she was a drama type.
Yeah, she was. Like the drama stuff. Yeah, for sure. I like that.
How old is Toby?
Yeah, I'm thinking like 14.
Okay,
I think it's young.
So this is only, 13 years later sort of thing. 12, 13 years later. I want to make it 13 years later because it's the whole, you have 13 hours and it's exactly 13 years to the day.
Okay. Yeah, that does put Oh, no, I guess that makes her, 29 or something. And maybe she's been gone for a few years.
4 years, I reckon.
Yeah.
She left at 25.
She was 25. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that Toby thinks he's kind of edgy and arty, but, like, is still trying to find that and figure himself out, so he's actually, like, mostly really awkward.
I think for the first part of the game, they all stick together.
Yeah.
But there is a section later on where one of them sort of gets knocked down into the oubliette sort of thing or something like that. And therefore the other two have to get down there to get them out and all that
Yeah, that could
stuff.
be interesting. Instead of just, like, splitting all three of them up and switching between, that you occasionally maybe, like, lose one of them and the other two are trying to find them. Because that keeps the dialogue going between the different members and being able to explore those relationships a bit better.
Yeah.
So what's changed? What's changed in the Labyrinth in 13 years?
There's now a faction. There's different factions.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay.
kind of like a war going on. Like a couple of different factions of goblins. Maybe they're not united under one leader anymore and they're...
Yeah. Well, because if Jareth is gone, like, how long has he been gone for, even? I mean, I guess not that long if it's only been...
4 years.
I don't know, time moves differently.
It really does.
Time moves differently in the Labyrinth.
It could literally just be the last couple of weeks and...
Right, yeah, I guess you could have shit, factions start in that time and it's a more recent thing. Yeah, okay.
So I like the idea that there's a couple of goblins that actually help you out. That you sort of make friends with some of the goblins because you don't know that they're, like... if they're actually bad guys or anything like that. I think the idea is that they sort of say, the Goblin Queen will know the answers to the questions that you seek. They don't know that it's Sarah. They're basically
that's your
saying,
sister, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, so you've got a faction of goblins who's essentially loyal to Sarah. You've got a faction who never liked Sarah, and so...
Well, the Goblin Queen, because I like the idea that they don't know that it's Sarah.
No. They never liked the Queen. And then especially... So when Jareth went missing, they just, like, essentially mutinied against her and, like, are no longer following her orders. And then do you have, like... Because there's so many different creatures in there... Do you have maybe, like, the species of whatever Ludo was have kind of found their own... Because they were definitely, like, oppressed. Or Ludo was. Like, Ludo was bullied and teased and whatever by... I guess they were a type of goblin in the big helmets or whatever. But maybe there's, like, a whole group of that type of creature.
Yeah.
That's now sort of found their little niche...
Yeah, I
within the Labyrinth.
Really like this idea of just being able to take some of the elements that you know and just twist it enough that, like, it's a different story. You can choose which way through the Labyrinth that you want to go, but as you sort of go through, you're always going to sort of end up at, like, there's one way through.
Yeah.
Here's an obstacle. You got to work out your puzzles to get through it, and.
Those fucking pink bird-looking things are still the same, though, and still super creepy and weird.
Mm-hmm.
What's Hoggle doing?
Oh, right early on in the game, there's, like, a little like, headstone that says Hoggle and...
Here lies Hogwarts.
Here lies...
They got the name. Jareth did the...
Hogwart or whatever.
Jareth did the headstone. Didn't get the name right.
But then you find out later on that he's actually the mysterious cloaked figure that kept on helping you throughout the whole thing. He faked his death and has been secretly trying to get his friend Sarah to like break the spell of, like, I'm thinking that maybe there's something that turned her really into the Goblin Queen and
yeah. I think maybe he thinks that, at least. He's trying to help her escape again. He thinks she's trapped. I kind of like her actually just have been like, no, I wanted to come back here and, she can have a bit of a story about how after her experience in the Labyrinth, like, she never felt quite like she was in the right place in the real world or whatever. Life got less magical as she got older. and had to deal with reality. And so she decided she wanted to come back and found her way back. So it could even be that she wasn't there for Jareth. Like, she just wanted to.
She's the reason why he's now trapped in one of those crystal balls. That she's actually doing it.
It turns out that, he went missing because she finally, like, got rid of him. She never actually liked him. But this time she was using him just so she could be here and rule as the queen.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool.
She traps him in one of those crystal balls and it's the one that she's just continually, doing.
Yeah, she's
the
like
contact juggling with.
Contact juggling. There you go. Yeah, that's cool. You don't find out. It's like it's like an after credits thing, and it zooms in on the ball, and you just see Jareth's face in there, like pressed against the side.
It's an owl. Because you know how he was an owl in the real world. It's got that owl face, and if you see it, early on, basically she captured him as he was in owl form.
It's that really primitive computer generated owl that's like going over the credits or whatever, the opening credits or that lovely 80s music and. Oh, fuck, I love that movie.
It's so fucking great.
All right, that's really cool. I think we can imagine kind of how the rest goes, so... All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
Appointed sentient.
So given.
So
just
is
so given.
S-O?
Just S-O. Something sentient? What was it?
Appointed sentient.
Appointed sentient. Well, that could work interestingly with given, in that, like...
Given an appointment, or...
Or just like if someone being appointed into a role, and that role... To do that role, they are granted sentience. They are given sentience.
Okay.
So like some sort of...
Why didn't they have sentience before? I like where you're going, but I want to know why they didn't have sentience before, and why... Effectively, they're being given free will, or at least knowledge of self.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a. It's maybe like a what's that? That like lifting up of a species or something. Maybe it's not full on. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's like there's an alien race and they appoint humans to a particular role.
Huh?
And as far as they're concerned, humans aren't sentient. But when they bring them on, they're like, oh, we have to give them all the knowledge of our race and that. So it's less giving them sentience from our point of view and more appointing someone into a role that, like, opens their world and their mind up to this. Like, humans don't know about other species.
Okay. Yep.
So there's a bit of a Last Starfighter vibe.
Yes. Okay. So... Who do you play? Do you play the person who's been appointed all this knowledge? Or do you play someone who looks, lives in this world, looks up to this person who's been appointed sentience, and
maybe
they're kind of being twisted with power? As you know, that when someone reaches the top, they quite often get corrupted by the money and the power. Being able to play around with this sort of thing of...
Maybe you play the previous human who was appointed this role, and you have just been superseded by the next human.
By the next model.
Well, yeah, or there's... I mean, we probably need to figure out what this is, what this role is, and why they appoint a human and why it has to be a human. What, is this some sort of governing role or some sort of decision-making role, or is it more of just this weird, like, honorific? Do they just want a human pet all the time and it's become part of their culture to, like, this is the, our culture's human?
Is it a ceremonial role?
Yeah, it could be. It could be, or, like, something to do with their religion, that it must be a human to anoint the chosen ones or whatever, or like only the specific brain structure of a human, primitive as it is, can can see into the depths of our species and choose the one who will lead us, or whatever it is. And then they become, this like ceremonial appointment within their race for a while. But there's a term limit, essentially, or there's like a something, or like when they get too old, it's like, oh no, like they just decided that once a human gets too old, their brain can't do what they think it can do.
At least that's what you think. I think that there's a prophecy. And...
Oh, yeah.
And you finally find out the translation of that, which is basically that they are looking for... They're looking for the human who will lead them to the one person in their race or whatever that will help them conquer the universe. Basically,
well, here you go. Maybe it's like, maybe their prophecy said something like, a human of the ages 26 to 33 will decide on will like reveal your savior. And so they bring these people on for 6 years at a time. And once you reach 32, it's like, well, it wasn't you, but you get to live in their society.
And because it was
or maybe
so
it's like
vague.
15 years or something. Like,
but I'm thinking because it was so vague that it's like the only thing that they've got going for it is that they know it's human and they know the ages between these 2 days.
Basically, but what I was going to say is I think you, as a now defunct human based on their reading of the prophecy, you find other people in their race, you get it retranslated, and you realize, no, they weren't saying between the ages of 26 and 32. They were saying you will be found in the year 2632. Like, it's actually like the human year of 2632 or whatever, and they got that mixed up in the translation, and it's now 2630 or whatever. Like it's nigh, or it's you, or it's
2633, and they just missed it.
they missed it.
You've actually already identified that person. They just dismissed it because you were over the age.
Yeah, I guess it might make sense for you to be that person. Yeah, you were discovered in that age at the age of 26. You're now 33, but like the year they discovered you was actually 2632, and so it didn't say, it said that person would be discovered in 2632, not when they would make the revelation.
And by the end of the game, you make the revelation that like I think you kind of. Are we going with my idea of, they're looking for the person who will lead them to be able to conquer the entire universe, sort of thing? So therefore, it's sort of like a bad thing that you find this sort of person, and then effectively you're going on like a quest to actually find that person that you identified in the opening cutscene, and kill alien Hitler, or.
I think there's definitely that tension of you are expected to reveal this person. Like maybe I think initially you're like put out because for 6 years you were this, revered being in their culture. You knew about the previous ones, but you kind of didn't think about them because like you were sure it was you. Like you were going to be the one to reveal this to them. They didn't tell you then. Or maybe it's another misreading of the prophecy, like maybe they don't know that it's someone who is going to essentially conquer the universe. They just think it's like you're going to reveal their savior. And so when you reach the end of your tenure there, essentially, and they go, oh, all right, put you to the side, go and live in the village where we have all the past ones, the other people who are all 32 and older, and all 6 years apart, basically. But you're like, no, like, I'm sure I was this one, and you go and you seek out, the elders who did this, and they dismiss you, and then you find like the young upstart alien who believes that that's been translated wrong, and you find whatever evidence you need to retranslate it correctly, and then you're like, oh yes, it is me, like I was discovered in that year, and then you retranslate the rest, and it's like, oh shit, the person I'm prophesied to reveal is actually going to like destroy everything. And so then the rest of the adventure is like, you're still, well, either maybe you convince the elders or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, yeah, like you're back in. But then it's like, oh, but do I actually want to do this now? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a neat arc.
Yeah, kind of a neat arc. Point and click adventure.
Yeah. I think it works
typical
well
things. I don't see enough there to continue down this path, though.
Fine. Have you got? It's because you got your next words already, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
No, that's fine. I think. Yeah, I think we can. We've got kind of the whole arc of that story there. I like how it would work. You could do some really fun. I'm getting almost I'm getting a Lucas Arts kind of vibe.
I'm getting a very Discworld vibe to it.
Yeah, I could see Discworld. Yeah, I was thinking The Dig, just in the sort of harder sci-fi, and definitely comparing it to that. But I just really nicely 2D animated and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool alien designs, cool like world design. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Mm.
All right, let's move on though. 3, 2, 1, click. Overwhelmed pub.
Stumbling crossroad.
Nice. Okay.
So, the reason why I kind of wanted to move on is because I got this idea, got this image in my mind, or whatever you want to call it, of a guy stumbling down the road.
Yeah.
With you saying pub, and has been overwhelmed. Like, he's basically been kicked out because he was too drunk.
Yeah.
And he's walking down the road, and he comes across a crossroad.
Okay.
And that's when the crossroad demon comes down and sort of, promises him, if he likes, that he can basically have anything he wishes for. The only thing is that, in X number of years, that he will come and collect.
Okay. So it's a deal with the devil kind of situation.
Yeah. So you sort of see the deal with the devil. I like the idea of, he's, drunk, so he kind of... You've had one... like, if you've ever got drunk and gone, oh, why did my drunk self take all these photos or something like that? Like, this is the ultimate one of those, which basically drunk you sold your soul, but what it sold it for was one more beer.
I like the idea of... I think you you play through, like, it literally opens with you stumbling down. We'll use the, like, the great physics from, GTA with the the stumbling around. You come to the crossroads, like the demon comes down, tells you about the deal, but I like the idea of cutting away. Like, the player doesn't make a decision.
Oh, yeah.
You essentially
then
cut away.
You've got a clock tattooed on your arm that is counting down. Like...
that. Yeah, I think what happens is, like, the deal is presented to you, it cuts away, you wake up the next it cuts to the next morning, wake up hungover, and you look at your arm and it's got, like, all the fine print. And yes, like a clock counting down, or and is it in years? Like, how long until it collects?
I know. I kind of want it to be a single year. So it's like a year in this person's life.
Okay. So what did he ask for? Well, you're saying he literally just asked for the beer. That's all he got.
So the last thing that he kind of remembers is that he asked for a beer, and then he sort of blacks out. And, I'm kind of liking the idea that he's spending all this next year trying to get out of the contract instead of just living his life to the fullest. And it's sort of like one of these sort of tales where you sort of say, well, if you know when you're going to die and you focus all your time on, focused on that moment, have you really lived for the last year?
Yeah, this could be an interesting...
introspection sort of...
Yeah, like an interesting story. I think maybe it's New Year's Eve, because then we've got, like, the clean year.
Yep.
And we can have these little, whether they're vignettes or little sections where it's like January, like you get the big, you get the big title come up January, and then like you
really
play through a scene and
know,
then it's February.
It is really important to know, is this a leap year? Because it makes all the difference.
I think it has to be just, and we can make some joke. But something happens and he like
comes back on
he sleeps through February 29 entirely. Wastes that day.
I'm thinking that the demon comes back on December 30th, and you've then got an extra day that
the demon got mixed up.
The demon doesn't know about like leap years. He just kind of goes, "It's been 365 days." It's like, no, that's not a year.
Yeah, we could do that. The thing is, I was going to get to the point where I think you get to the end and you've wasted that whole year, but I wonder if we do like a bit of a Christmas Carol kind of deal where it's like, so did you learn your lesson? It's like, all right, and you get sent back to that night and it's like, okay, now, deal's done, deal's off, but you get to continue your life, and now it's like, now he's going to live his life to the fullest, even without a deal or whatever. Like that we do a bit of a learned your lesson kind of situation.
It turns out that like the demon was just an angel in disguise of like, turn him away from that crossroads demon, and you see the sort of crossroads demon tied up behind the like there's like the crossroads sort of sign, and just behind it is like a demon tied up, and the angel sort of turns around and winks at the camera. And
I was going to say there's like a post credit scene of the angels up in heaven, and they're just like, all right, which one of these do we want to fuck with today? Let's like, should we do the old like teach him a year, lesson for a year thing?
I know. I reckon that's got kind of a cool idea to actually play around with those sort of tropes, but also like you can have sort of 12 vignettes that are going over a month each. And
yeah, well, I like the idea that he essentially, I mean, I think he was already almost at rock bottom, but like you have all these opportunities, or what could have been opportunities, to turn your life around in some way. Oh, he, but he just wasted every turn because he's like trying to get out of this deal.
He's spending the whole year like going to different churches, talking to people about like the fine print that no one else can see. Like he's the only one who can actually see it on their arm.
He shows up at all these lawyers' offices, and he's just like, "Look, I've got this legalese here," and he's just pointing at his empty arm. They just kick him out.
They're just looking at it, and it's just this blank like forearm, and then he looks at it and goes, you can see in red blood sort of thing.
Yeah, red flaming blood letters.
See, the time's going down. It's like, I almost want him to spend like a small amount of time, under observation in like a hospital or something like that, because they're just seeing if he's going to actually hurt himself or something like that. Like, you don't have to go.
Well, and I think he like goes to therapists and stuff to see if he's imagining the whole thing, and I think it's sort of all these different phases and these different things that he goes through, just completely focused on the deal itself and his impending mortality, or what he thinks is his mortality, instead of what he could have done.
I kind of like the
maybe,
idea.
Does he have a family or at least friends or something that he just like they're constantly trying to just help him and different things, then he completely sort of leaves them by the wayside.
I do like that idea. I also like the idea that he goes to like one of those Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's actually for people who have done deals with the devil sort of thing. So he meets up with these people and some of these people, I'm picturing that one of the people that he realizes he's got a good friendship and that sort of stuff. Her or his, whichever way you want to sort of go. His date for when he's going to make the deal is coming up, like in say February. So you've got a little bit of time to sort of find that person before they make the deal, and sort of, that's the thing that they decide to do right at the end. They go, if I can just find this person before they make their deal, maybe we can,
figure
it out together.
Or maybe he wants to be there when the deal. Like, he's like, can I be with? Let's stick together so that when your time runs out, like, I can grab them and I can like make end my deal or end both our deals or whatever. And so they try it, but does the other person
with the angel, because she comes along with him to his deal, and she goes, "This isn't the crossroads that I made my deal at," and that it's somewhere like different, and therefore it may be a different demon and that sort of stuff.
I was more thinking it'd be interesting because I was going to say, I wonder if at that time when they say, like, he can't see their deal either, but like she tells him or like, oh yeah, it's okay, it's 3, 2, 1, and then she just like pops out of existence. She just disappears. But maybe you like run into her like 3 months later, you see her, she doesn't remember you. Like, she's essentially gone back and lived her life then, but it's just, for you, it's just confusing. It's like, well, what happened? Like, am I imagining this? Like, this person who I spent all this time with doesn't know me.
See, I was saying the other way.
Life.
I was saying that she made the deal after you, and therefore, like, you can stop her from making the deal in the first place when you're going back through again, and that sort of stuff.
I see. I was thinking you'd end it after the first run. Like, I think it was more that's the end.
It's more that, like, she came along with you to your final thing, hoping to get out of the deal and, have you both stay together, and then
I see.
You get winked back out of existence, and now you, like, the last thing that he decides to do is go find her before she makes the deal in 2 months.
I see. Yeah. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
You could do both of those. You could have two different characters. One who you try to go along with, and then, you fall in love or something. You're like right at the end. You meet them 2 weeks before before the end of the year, fall madly in love somehow. She does also have a deal. That's still how you meet. You have, you know that you're just going to wink out of existence because that's what you've seen in this other person who you tried to go to their, like, you were with them when it ended.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have this like teary ending where, you're just going to disappear, but then you find out, I've got another chance. And yes, you can, it's like, all right, I'm going to find her and stop her from making her deal. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking, kind of like Good Omens, how you've got like the devil and demon sort of character. Does the angel character, as the demon, sort of pop up every now and again, just to sort of, as different characters throughout the story, kind of like trying to change our character's destiny a little bit more and bring him out of his shell and get him to focus
maybe.
a little bit more.
I like the idea of making that really subtle.
Oh yeah, really subtle, but maybe
like you have one little indicator that you don't even reveal to the player properly until like the end, and so if they play through it again,
it's that total end of Saw, all the flashbacks to all the things and interlocking the pieces back together.
I don't know if you flash. It's more like when you finally see them turn into their angel self at the end, they've got like a tattoo or I don't know, they're wearing like a feather in their I don't know, that's a stupid thing, but they've got a green hat on or something.
They look like King Graham from Daventry.
Yeah, they've got their little bicocket.
I forgot that it was called a bicocket.
This has got to be the podcast that has uttered the term
bicocket,
the word bicocket the most out of every podcast. And then so like then you realize if you play through it again, it's like, oh, that character had a green hat. Oh, that character had a green hat. Like, they're all different characters, and they all, like, yeah, they had some input into the player, or they were, like, certain conversations that were trying to help them move along. It's like, oh, shit, like, that was the angel every time.
As soon as I did say flashbacks from Saw, all that was running in my head was the da-da-da, da-da-da, all the music that plays when all the flashbacks are happening, like in the Saw franchise.
So this dramatic, like, yeah. I haven't seen enough of them to know the music.
I've seen them all. And it's sort of like I've seen the first one probably the most, and I remember the way that sort of ends up, and it's like as the credits are going,
right,
just before the credits go, and he's like shutting the door on these two guys, and they're totally fucked. But I can see that the angel / demon, in the post credit scene, could actually be talking about it. It's like, oh, I think I might go fuck with some demons. Like,
yeah, they do it to mess with the crossroad demons. Yeah,
it's not about the humans at all. It's just it's just fucking with the crossroads demons.
With the demons, they
having some fun.
Humans are nothing to these higher beings,
especially because they've been living for millennia. They're like, that's like a second to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine living so long that, like, years just float by like that now.
Well, it's so weird to think about, because if you're still actually experiencing time at the same rate, like, does it seem like it goes by that quickly, or is it more like the way that we remember because, like, once you have more memories in your head, essentially things in the past feel like they've gone faster? And is there any difference between those two things?
Well, I think it's all to do with, and when I think about it, I look at my son James, who's 8 and a bit. The amount of percentage that an hour is of his life is much bigger than the percentage that an hour is of my life. So
that's
therefore,
what I mean. Yeah,
that percentage doesn't, like, now it doesn't feel like we've been doing an hour and 5 minutes of this podcast. But we have.
Oh, I mean, when we were like 8 years old, an hour felt like forever.
Because
and now it goes so quickly.
It's only a percentage of. It's like a much higher percentage of your life.
Yeah, but it's such a good. But that only. And this is completely off topic. That's sort of only relevant once you've experienced it, right? Because then it's about it being in your memory. So yeah, it is this interesting thing of
after you're lived
experiencing
for millennia,
it in the actual time. Yeah,
after you live for millennia. Like, the difference between a second and a year is...
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting.
That it's like...
Cool.
A second is like... they're gone. Like, it's such a minute percentage now that an hour is nothing, a week.
That is an interesting way to think of it, because I've always wondered, like, they talk about it like, oh my God, a century passes and it's like a year for a human or whatever, or someone who's been a long life for a human lifespan. But then how does that affect their, like, literal in the moment? Does everything feel slow to them or whatever? But I can see that, no, it wouldn't. Like, you're just living your life, but it's just now as you remember back, it just feels like it goes so quickly. I don't know. And it's weird. It's a weird metaphysical thing to think about.
I was talking to my grandfather a little while ago about this same idea. He's just turned 90 like last week, and he was saying that, like, the last 20 years, like, seeing me go from 21 to now nearly 41, like, has gone by so much quicker than what it felt like me getting up to that 21 year thing. And he goes, it's getting too fast. Like,
so interesting.
It's at that point that he's just trying to enjoy all the time that he's got left, because he knows that he's had friends die. He knows that he doesn't have another 20 years. Like, he knows that it's going to be within the next 10 years, and that's kind of scary, but he's...
Yeah, well, again, it's so interesting to think about that, of the sort of the present moment versus your memory of it, and how that feels, and then how that affects your present moment. And, I wonder, like, if we ever got to the point where humans have a lifespan of 250 years, like, are our brains just not prepared to deal with that many memories in your head. Like,
that second century went so fast. Felt like half the length of the first century.
Yeah, it's like an exponential thing. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us this week on the Joe Rogan Experience, where we talk bullshit about metaphysical ideas without knowing what the fuck we're talking about. No, thank you. I think we will end it there. Thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find our previous episodes, you can go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm. Check them all out. Leave us a review. Tell us what you thought. Yeah, do that. Do those things.
We are hoping to have a couple more guests on in the next couple of weeks. Got a couple lined up. We're just working out the details now. So
yep. So look out for those.
Look out for those coming up soon. We'd also like to thank Kuradust for allowing us to use the song Mad Defiance of the album Containment Failure for our opening and closing number every single week.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And thumbs up, thumbs down, execute. I'm getting a thumbs up. Oh, we're good. We live for another day.